All right, let's jump right in. You've probably heard the word development thrown around a lot, right? It's often used to rank countries, as if they're all just climbing the same ladder. But what does it really mean? Because, spoiler alert, it's about way more than just money and shiny skyscrapers.
So, I want to ask you directly, what makes a country developed? Seriously, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably things like a bustling economy, modern cities, high-tech gadgets. And yeah, those things are part of the picture. But that's just scratching the surface. It's like looking at a puzzle with most of the pieces still in the box. Because here's the thing, there is no single easy definition of development. It's been described as a rich tapestry, which is a perfect way to put it. It's an idea that's been woven together over decades from all these different threads. History, economics, social movements. There's just no simple one-size-fits-all answer. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, we've got to look at how our understanding of development has completely transformed over the years. It's been on a real journey, shifting from this narrow obsession with money to something much, much deeper, a search for real human well-being and meaning. And you can see that massive shift right here. The old school model was all about one thing: economic growth. Build factories, grow the GDP, and bam, you're developed. But the modern approach, it tells a totally different story. It puts people, their rights, and the future of our planet right at the center of the conversation. This visual basically maps out that whole evolution for us. It shows how we went from those purely economic ideas on the left to the much more complete, human-centered ones we have today. So, let's walk through that journey step by step. So, in the beginning, it was all about modernization. The idea was simple. Every country just needs to copy the industrial playbook of the West. But then a really powerful counter-argument emerged, called dependency theory. It flipped the whole thing on its head, saying, hold on, what if some countries are struggling because the global system is unequal? That was a game changer. It forced the conversation to shift toward basic needs, focusing on things that matter right away, like food, health, and education. And that brings us right up to today. Now, we talk about things like participatory development, which is just a way of saying local communities should be in the driver's seat. We talk about sustainable and rights-based development, putting environmental protection and human rights front and center. And finally, this big idea of development as social change, recognizing you're not just tweaking an economy, you're trying to fundamentally transform a society for the better.
Now, to talk about all these global differences, you need the right words. And just like the idea of development itself, the words we use have evolved, because language really, really matters.
Check this out. This map was an early attempt to visualize that divide. It's called the Brant Line. Proposed way back in 1980, it drew this stark line across the globe, separating a so-called global north from a global south. Now, sure, it's a bit of an oversimplification today, but wow, it was a powerful visual that really shaped the conversation for a long time. Today, that language, global north and global south, isn't just about geography, not at all. It's used to talk about deep economic and political divides, and crucially, it acknowledges the historical power imbalances that helped create this situation. It's a way more thoughtful approach than using outdated, loaded terms like first world and third world.
And here's the bottom line. You absolutely cannot understand this north-south divide without facing its history. The impact of colonialism isn't just in the past. It literally shaped the world we live in today. It involved pulling out resources, drawing random borders, and locking in global inequalities that, as this says, are still with us right now.
So all this history and theory brings us to one place: the real-world challenges we are desperately trying to solve today. You can think of it as humanity's global to-do list for the 21st century. And this list, it's massive. We're talking everything from ending poverty in all its forms to achieving gender equality, but the key thing to get is that these issues are all tangled up together. Take the digital divide. That's not just about who has Wi-Fi. It's about who gets to access education, who can use online banking, who has a voice in our global world. The scale of it all is just staggering. So how on earth do you get the entire world to work together on a problem set this huge? Well, the shared blueprint, the master plan, it all comes down to one number: 17.
These are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. Back in 2015, every single member of the UN signed on to this. It's a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and make sure every person can enjoy peace and prosperity. And the key word there is integrated. They all depend on each other.
And at the absolute heart of these 17 goals is one simple, powerful promise: leave no one behind. This isn't just a catchy slogan, it's a genuine pledge to focus our efforts on the world's most vulnerable people first.
So we have a plan, we have these incredible goals, but this isn't a story with a neat and tidy ending. Far from it. This is an unfinished journey, and the path forward is anything but clear. And that really brings us to the single most important takeaway of all this. Development isn't a finish line. It's not a destination a country arrives at. It's a constant, ongoing process. A journey of learning from our mistakes, adapting to new crises, and collaborating on a global scale. So, how are we doing right now? Well, this is the tough part. The reality is pretty sobering. Recent global shocks, especially the pandemic, have left some deep scars. Progress on the SDGs is slowing way down, and on several goals we've actually gone backward. We're seeing some really worrying trends, especially on the environment and on inequality.
Which leaves us with a final and pretty urgent question. The world has a plan, but we're falling behind. With progress grinding to a halt, or even reversing, what is it going to take to get this ambitious, absolutely essential global project back on track? And what role will each of us play in finding the answer?